welcome to you. I'm Michael Holmes at the CNN Centre, our continuing coverage of the strike against terror. And these are our top stories for the hour. Airstrikes are underway over Afghanistan right now. Witnesses reporting heavy bombing in and around the southern city of Kandahar. This follows a weekend that saw some of the most extensive strikes so far against the Afghan capital, Kabul. US Defence Secretary Donald Rumsfeld on Sunday confirmed that the former Mujahideen leader Abdul Haq, that's him there on your screen at the moment, had received US assistance in last week's ill-fated mission. Haq was captured and executed after entering Afghanistan on a mission to persuade several Taliban leaders to defect. Rumsfeld did not specify the type of assistance Haq had received. He said, however, it was not from the US military. Recovery operations at the World Trade Center site came to a halt on Sunday for a memorial service. A crowd of almost 10,000 family members gathering to remember the victims of the September 11 attacks. Well, US jets bombed the Taliban stronghold of Kandahar early on Monday. We spoke a short while ago with Kamal Haider, who says the city came under fierce attack.
A little after 5 Afghan Standard Time, the American bombers attacked Kandahar. They dropped bombs about the first bomb explosion that we heard was about 10 past 5. It shook the city, shook the walls and rattled the windows. There was quite a bit of air activity over Kandahar. That attack lasting almost for 1 hour, and the explosions were heard from the western part of the city.
The attack on Kandahar followed a mostly quiet day on Sunday in which people were seen on the streets shopping and going about other routine chores. Well, in northern Afghanistan, the anti-Taliban Northern Alliance is calling for closer coordination with US forces after stray bombs killed civilians in alliance-controlled villages. Alex Thompson has our report now on some of those civilian casualties.
From their bombed-out government building, Northern Alliance soldiers survey the front line with the Taliban. But now they're overlooking a river valley where the United States bombed not 1 but 3 civilian villages, 2 on their own side in Northern Alliance territory. In the foreground here, on the fertile river plain, Khonakhil. It's populated, they're still working the fields here. The soldiers wanted us to see what had happened. An American bomb injured at least 8 people and killed this man's wife.
We're angry. They came to our village and killed us. What had we done?
7-year-old Anur Gul had been staying with his aunt and returned to find his home blown to bits.
I stayed there 2 nights. When I came home, I saw everybody was injured and I was the only one left.
So for the United States now, a real dilemma. Continue the low level of bombing, which happened here for 5 days, and the Taliban can probably withstand that, perhaps indefinitely. Or increase the intensity of the bombing. And you run the risk that what happened yesterday may happen again, that you'll bomb 3 villages, 2 of which are effectively on your own side. At the second village in Northern Alliance hands to be hit, Khonakhor, doctors say 3 people were injured and 3 killed. All are being treated at the emergency hospital in the Panjshir Valley.
Myself and the staff were deeply shocked, especially when you see a 4-year-old child and other children, old ladies, etc. Sorry, this is and any civilian and any victim of bombardment or war is not just a surprise. I mean, it's a tragedy and it's a shock and it shouldn't happen.
We've taken an injured family from Nekokil in Taliban hands to a field hospital. They crossed the lines despite their injuries. We checked on their progress at the emergency hospital 10 miles away. The mother, Shakila, is stable with several shrapnel wounds. 12-year-old Aziza's eye is not threatened by the head wound she suffered, and 1-year-old Laikan's injuries are thankfully superficial, unlike his brother, who was killed in the attack. South of here, across the lines, more pictures have been released of the destruction caused by American bombing in Kabul. The Al Jazeera TV station says this bomb hit the northeastern suburb of Makrorian. Several bodies were pulled from the rubble, including 3 children. It's reported that 9 people were killed, a whole family wiped out in their home. It is the 4th time American bombers are reported to have hit people's houses in this suburb. The Americans say they are convinced that Makrorian is where the main Taliban defense lines begin. Whilst the military effectiveness of this war remains largely unknown, the civilian pain is daily more apparent. Alex Thompson, Channel 4 News, north of Kabul in Afghanistan.
Well, among the victims of the fighting is an anti-Taliban commander who was executed by the Taliban on Friday. Members of the Afghan opposition joined the former Afghan king Mohammad Zahir Shah at a service in Rome on Sunday to remember Commander Abdul Haq. Haq had entered Afghanistan on a mission to try to persuade Taliban members to defect. He was considered a likely leader of a temporary government that the opposition is trying to put in place should the Taliban fall. The king's aides say that quest will continue.
We consider that Afghanistan has lost one of its greatest sons, and we have lost a great friend. And this memorial service was to honor our brother, the martyr, the Commander Abdul Haq, who will be remembered for generations to come.
It was the first time the former king has been seen in public in almost a month. Pakistan is facing growing internal opposition to its support of the US-led attacks in Afghanistan. It is not yet clear whether that sentiment played a part in the massacre of 16 people in a church on Sunday. Survivors say the attackers pulled up on motorcycles during Sunday prayers. They fired machine guns into dozens of worshippers for 5 minutes before escaping. Pakistan President Pervez Musharraf said terrorists bent on sowing discord in Pakistan were responsible for the attack. Well, the German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder is working to build support for the US-led coalition. Mr. Schroeder is in India after meeting Sunday with the Pakistan President Musharraf. Maria Ressa is following the trip. She joins us now with the latest. Maria, what can you tell us about this trip?
Well, Michael, Germany's chancellor arrived in New Delhi Sunday night. Monday morning, he went through full military honors. He then laid a wreath at the grave of Mahatma Gandhi. He's really in India to look not just at international terrorism, but also bilateral economic ties between India and Germany. Right now, he's addressing a German-Indian economic forum. On Tuesday, Mr. Schroeder goes to India's Silicon Valley, that's Bangalore. Many German companies want Indian software firms to open offices in Germany. Mr. Schroeder does bring a carrot for that, another 10,000 green cards to go to Indian IT professionals. That announcement is expected on Tuesday. For the rest of the day, the German Chancellor will meet with India's President and Prime Minister about a post-Taliban scenario. Like Tony Blair and Colin Powell before him, he will also try to ease tensions between these two nuclear rivals. He's expected to talk about the flashpoint, Kashmir. Michael?
Indeed. Interesting you mentioned Kashmir as they discuss fighting in Afghanistan. Maria, fighting also in Kashmir?
Absolutely. Actually gotten a bit more fierce. The casualties this weekend is a little higher than it's been over the average daily casualty in Kashmir. It hits about 6 to 10 people every day. Over the weekend, about 40 people were killed. Just this hour, a nearly 3-day siege has just ended. A militant was holed up in a mosque in the Panzan village in central Kashmir. That siege has ended this hour. So as the war, the strikes continue in Afghanistan, Kashmir violence continues also. Michael?
Maria Ressa, thanks. Well, Japan's military will play a supporting role in the US-led campaign against terror. Legislation passed on Monday paves the way for Japan to send troops overseas, but not into actual combat. This measure allows for Tokyo to transport supplies, conduct search and rescue missions, also to dispatch medical teams in support of US forces. Now, when we come back, Lebanon's fight against terrorism and how it says Beirut is helping the United States. Also, the families of those killed in the World Trade Center collapse remember their loved ones at the site of the attack.
Right, I know. Cash only.
The the all-new A4. Suddenly, every ride's exciting.
How do they see through the stockings?
How do they see through the stockings? They're sheer.
Right.
But you're missing the point of the story. The woman's car is commandeered, stranding her miles from the nearest FedEx location.
She's toast?
No. Directly across the street, her salvation.
Directly across the street?
Technically, it was kitty corner, but stay with me. Is it a mirage?
I don't know.
Is it a miracle?
Yes.
No. It's one of thousands of FedEx Express drop boxes strategically located at post office locations coast to coast.
Keeping the engines of commerce
well lubed. Precisely.
Naturally, we do everything we can to protect what we have. But we also recognize the need for growth. And we know that with growth,
You can do it.
comes risk. What's important is finding the right balance.
Careful.
That's what we do best at Prudential Financial. We help you find the right balance in your financial life. Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth.
We're about providing financial solutions for people at growing companies. That's what we do at the Principal Financial Group. These are uncertain times. Everyone's very emotional right now. We understand the best companies are those that care about keeping their best employees. And as the nation's 401k leader, we have more plans than anyone. We can help secure the financial future of your employees, which will keep you working together a long, long time. The Principal Financial Group. Call us if we can help.
Well, let's take another look now at the latest developments in the anthrax investigation. A U.S. Justice Department mail facility in suburban Maryland has tested positive for anthrax. In response, the Justice Department closed the mailroom in its main building in Washington. Health authorities in New Jersey say they have confirmed the first case of inhalation anthrax in that state. The victim works at a mail processing facility in Hamilton Township. The unidentified postal worker is in hospital and is responding to antibiotics. The latest numbers show 13 confirmed anthrax infections. There are another 5 suspected cases of infection, while 32 people are believed to have been exposed to the bacteria. 3 people have died of inhalation anthrax. Well, families of victims of the World Trade Center attack gathered Sunday in New York to remember their loved ones. The emotional service was held near the ruins of the fallen towers. Relatives of more than 4,000 people who were killed in the attack gathering for the service. Many brought pictures of their family members who were killed. For some of them, this was the first time they had visited the site of the disaster.
They haven't recovered anything of my father yet, and just to look at the destruction and know that he's somewhere in there is very difficult.
I had to be here. I had to be close. I had to breathe that air in and fill my lungs up with him and everybody else that's lost.
The hour-long service focused on music and prayer with presentations by Christian, Muslim and Jewish clergy. The Philippine military says a Muslim rebel group may have planted a bomb in a food court that killed at least 5 people. Though no one has yet claimed responsibility, officials believe the Abu Sayyaf, a group linked to Osama bin Laden, may have been responsible. One of the victims of Sunday's blast in the southern city of Zamboanga was an 8-year-old girl. More than 50 others were injured. The Abu Sayyaf is demanding a separate Muslim homeland in the south of the mainly Catholic country. Israel has ended its incursions into 2 Palestinian towns despite attacks that killed 5 Israelis on Sunday. Israeli tanks and troops pulled out of Bethlehem and Bet Jala, calling the pullouts a test case for possible withdrawals from 4 other towns that remain occupied by Israeli forces. Israel agreed to the pullouts on the provision that those towns remain calm. The withdrawals came despite 2 drive-by shooting attacks inside Israel, which the Palestinian Authority later condemned. In one, 4 Israelis at a bus stop were killed, and in the other, an Israeli soldier was killed. The US declared war against terrorism has rearranged political allegiances in some regions, but not all the countries sit comfortably in that new order. Brent Sadler explains the precarious position that the campaign in Afghanistan has created for Lebanon.
A Lebanese army commando unit practices the storming of a hijacked plane at Beirut's once notorious international airport. The same airport where TWA Flight 847 ended up in the hands of real hijackers in 1985. Today's precision training underscores what the authorities here insist is their resolve to fight new terror in all its forms.
We are cooperating with the United States in everything they are asking about information, about security, about freezing money if there is any.
Lebanon's violent history, though, when US and Western interests were ruthlessly targeted during the 1980s, puts this nation uncomfortably in the backwash of America's war on terror. Osama bin Laden has sympathizers here, to be found among a minority of hardline Islamic and Palestinian groups. Their leaders dream of a US defeat in Afghanistan. The Afghan mud that tore down the Soviet Union and the Afghan mud that tore down the British Empire, says this holy man, will tear you into pieces. Prime Minister Hariri raises alarm the US is failing to take into account another crucial issue, that unless there's a just settlement to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the fight against terror will be undermined.
If the Israeli government continue killing Palestinians, innocent Palestinians every day, it is jeopardizing the interests of the United States and the interests of the coalition because it is embarrassing and corner all the governments in the Islamic world and in the Arab world.
A view shared by the government and, it believes, the majority of people here, like worshippers at this Sunnite Muslim mosque in Beirut.
The terrorism is here in Palestine and nobody's here and nobody talk about it. The terrorism only in America, no, the terrorism is all around the world.
Officially speaking, Lebanon, with its US-associated businesses under military guard, stands with America and against Osama bin Laden with his Taliban protectors. Yet on the streets here, where you can buy an Osama bin Laden Halloween mask for $3, there's sympathy for Afghan people and a common understanding that America should shoulder blame for creating bin Laden, the anti-Soviet warrior, before he turned against the United States.
Who made this mistake? Who fight him from the beginning? Me or America? Arab people or America? Muslim people or America? It's her mistake from the beginning. We can't correct mistake by another mistake.
And mistakes, say authorities here, like overlooking what they claim is Israel's harsh policy towards the Palestinians, a root cause of terror, must be corrected. Brent Sadler, CNN, Beirut.
Now let's bring you up to date now on weather conditions around the world. Galen Crater joins us from the International Weather Centre once again. Galen, it looks like you've got Asia behind you, have you?
Well, actually, we're looking at the European continent on the satellite imagery. But thank you, Michael. The reason why is because we've got a couple of very active systems over the continent at this hour. As you can see, one of them comes in from the North Atlantic and just about swallows up Denmark there. They've had quite a bit of rain today. The other sort of twirling off of the Iberian Peninsula. It's stalled. It's not bringing a whole lot of rain into the Mediterranean, but Portugal and northern Spain are getting quite a bit of rain from that activity. Here's what it's expected to look like Monday morning. Now, this system, again, isn't going to move very much, but there is an associated frontal boundary that extends from northern Spain all the way through the continent up here to northwestern parts of Russia. Now, the rain associated with this boundary is really just mainly happening here in the Carpathians, in Hungary, and Budapest, of course, going to have some showers there, and down here near Portugal. Other than that, there is some rain to speak of through western portions of Russia, all the way up into, well, of course, we've got this other system here just over the Baltics, and that is bringing some rain through Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, parts of northern Sweden, and Norway. Denmark also going to continue to see showers over the next 48 hours or so, and there's one more system moving in to the UK and should be there on Tuesday. Taking a look at that Ireland and northern portions of Scotland, central parts of the UK going to see some showers associated with that. Your temperatures look about right, but colder to the farther east you go here. Warsaw should see a high of just 6 degrees. We've got seasonal rainfall and its fair share happening in the Congo River Basin. To the south, there is a low pressure center here. It's rather weak, but it is bringing some rain into coastal sections of South Africa. As we move into Tuesday morning, that will begin to push off just a little bit. And we've got high pressure dominating things all the way to the north here, and your temperatures around the region. 22 your high in Cairo, and we've got 19 expected in Cape Town. The rest of the Middle East looks like this. 36 the high in Kuwait City. And moving quickly now to South America, there's rain expected for Buenos Aires, southern parts of Brazil. That should begin to push out a little bit more to see on Tuesday, but Montevideo will have a shower there. Now, let's take a look at some weather conditions for individual cities around the world. Not much to speak of weather-wise happening in North America. High pressure and clear skies except for the Great Lakes and the Pacific Northwest. Going to see a shower or two on Monday, and that'll do it. Michael, back to you.
I was just checking before. I was just testing you before. I knew that was Europe, by the way. All right, Gavin, thanks very much. Stay with us. When we come back, an Afghan-American family's sacrifice in the United States and for their homeland. Their story when we come back.
Going to where the story is and bringing it home from the front lines. Christian Amanpour, another reason why you can depend on CNN.
Want to save thousands on a brand new boat and not make a payment for 6 months? In on the 2001 model clearance at Hayden Island Yacht Center and save big.
I'm not talking to you!
Now families can enjoy the ultimate web experience and use the phone line at the same time.
Hold on a sec. Don't you get it?
I think she's in love. Introducing Quest Connected Home. It's your home phone line with tons of great features, plus unlimited MSN broadband powered by Quest for just $72.90 a month. Now even get free activation, a $99 value. This is staying connected. This is riding the light. Quest.
As America strikes back, depend on CNN.
While Taliban officials and Western leaders dispute the cause, all agree that Afghan civilians are suffering. Thelma Gutierrez reports now on how one family's sacrifice is helping ease some of that suffering.
From the comfort and safety of a Los Angeles suburb, Zarmina Khalili and her daughter Zora watch the suffering of Afghan children.
The Allied bombing campaign.
And news of bombs raining down on what was once their homeland.
They're my people. Of course it hurts. And Afghanistan is my land. I was born there. I was raised there. And of course it hurts.
They watch images of desperate men, women, and children on videotape, shot in refugee camps by Zarmina's husband, Abul.
He's helping his people, and he's giving them the supplies, like food, medicine, clothes.
The family says Abul has made the trip to Afghanistan 8 times to provide humanitarian relief. She believes he is there now, somewhere in the north.
No communication at all, because there is no way that we can have communication.
Abul left Los Angeles more than a month ago. His wife and children last heard from him when he was about to cross the border into Afghanistan.
I'm afraid that he might get killed, but at the same time I know that he's going to make it because he's a very brave man and I'm very, very proud of him.
Once a parking valet, Abul is now the founder of a nonprofit charity called Afghanistan Relief Organization. He has distributed donations of food, clothes, and medical supplies to refugees since 1998.
She said there's been like times that for 10 days we didn't have food. There's no food, no water, nothing.
Zarmina says these miserable conditions were shot back in March, long before U.S. strikes. The situation now is worse than ever.
Our homes have been destroyed and we have nothing, and we're just living here under these tents.
The plastic tents, jackets, and shoes were donated by Afghan Americans who say it is now harder to enjoy a meal while so many go hungry.
It's very hard, and it's been like 3-4 days I haven't slept, and I can't eat, because when I eat, you know, I can't, like, it just gets stuck in my throat, because I think that, oh, my people, they're hungry there, and God knows what's going on there right now, and I'm really depressed, really depressed.
14-year-old Zora says she is haunted by this image of a 13-year-old Afghan girl.
She was very sick. My dad told me she was very, very deeply hungry.
Abul left the girl's side, visited other children, then returned a few hours later.
When he came back, she found her dead. And when I heard that, I was so shocked, and I couldn't believe that girl died.
The stories are echoed from camp to camp.
I feel sorry for them, and I wonder how they can live like that. You know, it's not easy to live like that. So I keep wondering that how they can live like that, you know. It's not easy for them.
And it's not easy on Abul's family either. They grieve for refugees thousands of miles away, and they worry about the man trying to save them somewhere in Afghanistan. This interview was taped in September, right before he left.
When I always go to Afghanistan, I pray for myself and for my 2 daughters, which I love, and for my wife, and say goodbye.
If he dies, then when I grow up, I will live on his legacy. I will go to Afghanistan and I will do the same thing as he did.
Thelma Gutierrez, CNN, Los Angeles.
On that note, I'm Michael Holmes of the CNN Centre. Stay tuned for our coverage of the strike against terror. World Business Today with Charles Hodson coming up next.
What would you do if someone passed you the keys to a Pontiac Grand Am for a week?
We're going to drive as fast as we can to San Francisco.
We're doing big things. The Pontiac Grand Am, big things, baby.
3-car park, next 3. That's it. How do we get the 3-car?
Vegas! This is like living a dream, baby.
Yeah! Welcome to Vegas, baby. We on the strip, baby.
On the strip.
Oh, yeah!
Girls gone wild at the Bellagio.
Yes.
So what would you do with the Pontiac Grand Am?
How you doing?
Tell us at Pontiac.com.
Do they bowl in Italy? Do they bowl in Italy? It's the birthplace of bocce ball, but you're missing the point of the story. A mom-and-pop bowling ball bag manufacturer in Jersey. Jersey is swamped with worldwide demand after their product is featured in an Italian fashion magazine. Why are you laughing? I was thinking of bocce shirts.
let it go. So they ship via FedEx International Services. With time-definite express delivery to over 210 countries, the bags hit the markets. The classic macroeconomic love story. Supply meets demand.
I like a nice love story.
There will come a time when your work will end and your life will begin again. And Key can help. Your first step is our retirement planning guide, which can be yours free when you call 1-888-KEY-2020 today. In a few easy steps, this guide will take away the mystery of retirement planning and investing, so you can make informed decisions about your future. So take your first step. Call 1-888-KEY-2020 for your free retirement planning guide today.
online now.
AOL is very easy to use.
You've got mail.
My favorite feature on AOL is the instant messenger.
AOL's new mobile communicator lets you keep in touch without a computer.
Everybody I know is on AOL.
America Online, so easy to use, no wonder it's #1. Call now.
Hello, this is World Business Today. It's October the 29th. I'm Charles Hodson. Rupert Murdoch's News Corp loses out. EchoStar wins the hard-fought battle for DirecTV. United Airlines chief bows out under pressure. Investors look to the new man in charge to sort out the group's finances. Well, more on those stories in just a moment, but first let's take a quick look at how trading in Asia is shaping up. The main markets there are all lower. The Nikkei 225 is down almost 2%. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng is down almost 3%. Singapore's Straits Times Index is down 1.5%. We'll be going live to Lisa Barron in Hong Kong a little later in the program for more on those markets and other Asian financial news. But time now for the latest international news headlines with Michael Holmes at the CNN Center. Good day, Michael.
G'day, Charles. Thanks very much for that. Let's bring you up to date now on those latest developments. Coalition warplanes are striking targets in Afghanistan at this hour. Witnesses report fresh attacks against Kandahar early on Monday, and this comes after a weekend of intense bombardment in the Afghan capital of Kabul. The Japanese parliament has approved a bill allowing the country to send troops overseas. Japanese Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi led the fight for the legislation that allows Japanese troops to participate in the coalition effort in a non-combat role. US Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld says Abdul Haq received United States aid in his final mission last week. Taliban forces captured and then executed Haq after he entered Afghanistan in an attempt to persuade Taliban leaders to defect. Rumsfeld did not specify what type of aid Haq had received, but said it wasn't from the US military. Well, the Pentagon hasn't commented about the latest airstrikes nor about specific civilian casualties over the weekend. US Defense Secretary Rumsfeld says civilians were never deliberately targeted. However, as he has before, he admitted that bombs can go astray.
We clearly are being sensitive about collateral damage and recognizing that it can cause a problem with the feeling about what's taking place. We have to be more careful, and that means that you can use only limited types of ordnance or limited types of platforms, aircraft, in the event that it is in close proximity to residential areas. And even then, of course, weapons are not perfect. Our weaponry, probably the best is probably 85–90% reliable.
Asked if the military campaign would continue during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, Rumsfeld said the US does not announce its plans in advance, but he noted that the Taliban and Northern Alliance have fought through Ramadan after year. The German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder is in India trying to drum up more support for the US-led coalition against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. He's also urging India and Pakistan to resume peace talks. India accuses Pakistan of using the attacks on Taliban forces to strengthen its own position in the disputed Kashmir region. Mr. Schröder heard the same accusation Sunday from Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf during a stopover in Islamabad. General Musharraf says India broke the ceasefire by shelling Pakistan positions. Pope John Paul II has called upon the world to bring aid and comfort to the people of Afghanistan. In an address at the Vatican, the Pope prayed for all sides to put down their arms. He also called attention to strife in the Middle East.
In this moment, we entrust to the maternal protection of the Holiest Virgin the population of Afghanistan, so that innocent lives can be saved. And on the part of the international community, we ask for fast and efficient help for all the refugees exposed to deprivations of every type as the weather turns colder. We also cannot forget the continuing violence and death in the Holy Land, in particular in the holy places that are so dear to the Christian faith.
While the pontiff did not criticize the US-led military campaign, he has often urged restraint. Well, Israeli Defense Force troops have withdrawn from the West Bank towns of Bethlehem and Bet Jala. The Israelis began their incursion into Palestinian areas after an Israeli cabinet member was assassinated. The pullout from the two towns was authorized after a meeting of Israeli military officers and Palestinian security officials in Bet Jala. The withdrawal was scheduled for Saturday, but it was postponed amid continuing violence. Israeli forces still occupy 4 other Palestinian towns. Well, stay tuned for our continuing coverage of the strike against terror. For now, it's back to business with Charles Hodson.
Thank you, Michael. A blow for media giant News Corp. General Motors has agreed to sell its satellite TV unit Hughes to EchoStar in a deal worth nearly $26 billion. That comes a day after Rupert Murdoch's News Corp pulled out of the bidding. The deal would add Hughes 10 million subscribers to EchoStar DirecTV's 6 million existing subscribers and an additional $56 billion in revenue. The sale of Hughes, the #1 US satellite TV company, to the #2 satellite TV company is likely to face regulatory scrutiny. The chairman of United Airlines has resigned under pressure. James Goodwin, who just weeks ago warned the second largest US airline could go bankrupt, will be replaced by board member John Crichton. Greg Clarkin reports.
James Goodwin is out as CEO of United Airlines, just weeks after warning the nation's second largest airline was in danger of going bankrupt. Goodwin's resignation was demanded by some of United's unions after he warned that United would, quote, perish next year. The union said his comments had panicked employees and customers. Goodwin blamed the September 11th terrorist attacks with pushing United to the brink of bankruptcy. But United's new chief, board member John Crichton, disagrees.
I didn't take this job to preside over a bankruptcy. I refuse to accept that United Airlines is collateral damage from the events of September 11th.
It's estimated United lost as much as $1 billion during the third quarter, after losing more than $700 million in the first half of the year. Wall Street will know for sure later this week when parent company UAL releases financial results. But United is hardly alone. All of the major airlines are expected to post massive losses for the quarter as they struggle to rebuild from the terrorist attacks.
Any airline can perish by next year if people don't start coming back to travel. I think United is, despite its vast and huge system and strong cash flow, I think they are in a little bit more danger than most of their larger competitors.
United has the highest cost of any major U.S. airline, and it relies heavily on business travelers whose numbers have dropped given the weak economy and the attacks. UAL shares reflect the troubles. The stock is down more than 60% for the year and trading at a 14-year low. Goodwin had tried to remake United through a merger with U.S. Airways. That $12 billion proposal failed this summer after regulators said they would sue to block the deal. United has already slashed jobs and cut its number of flights. And now incoming CEO Crichton says he will look for even more cost savings as he tries to stabilize the airline. Greg Clarkin, CNN Financial News, New York.
Well, European markets start the week on a positive outlook along with optimism from Wall Street. In terms of sectors, technology stocks have had a good run in recent days, but can the gains last? Here to give us his perspective is Ross Greenwood, editor of Shares Magazine. Let's start with that first of all. In general terms, do you think that the momentum that we saw last week is going to be maintained this week?
To be honest, I think it is, and part of it was really the launch of Microsoft's Xbox XP product, which really I think was a catalyst for a lot of other technology issues to come back to the fore. So as a result, people were refocusing on them, recognising that in some cases there was genuine value within some of the technology stocks and also some of the telecoms as well. So I think that that could continue. There might be the brief respite, the brief little pause during the week, but I think generally tech stocks have been the ones that have actually led the market back.
Well, just to look at the earnings, I mean, we're still in the middle or towards the end of the earnings season. What do we expect in terms of companies' bottom line? Do you think there's going to be much to push the markets forward there?
Well, I think that's the really key issue for it, because quite clearly a large number of companies have tried to actually dampen down the analysts' forecasts of their earnings, and so as a result we've seen many, many more profit warnings than what we have previously. Ernst & Young out of the UK today, for example, has come out saying that there were 134 profit warnings in the last quarter. They're expecting 150 in the next quarter. That's in the UK alone. So under those circumstances, a lot of companies clearly are trying to get an awful lot of bad news into the market at this stage. Under those those circumstances, it gives them a chance to cut back their staff, cut back their operations, but it does mean that the share market itself has got to weather these profit warnings as they come.
Absolutely, because otherwise we're going to get rather stretched valuations. I mean, if the prospective earnings are low, then presumably that means that the PE ratios are going to be really looking quite stretched if the markets are going to go very much higher from where they are now.
Quite true, because the second thing is, with the profit warnings that have come out, this Ernst & Young survey also shows that the average fall on the first day after the profit warning occurs is some 24%. Now, what they're warning, particularly chief executives and finance directors, is that they must watch their cash book at this stage, literally do their cash on a week-by-week basis, which many companies, particularly the largest companies in Europe, are not doing at this stage. They criticise, and so as a result of this, many companies don't know where they sit until the end of the quarter, and this is the reason why so many profit forecasts or profit warnings have come out, which have therefore actually cut the price from underneath them.
Ross, one piece of corporate news I can't resist asking about, EchoStar, Rupert Murdoch. Is it one in the eye for him? What's gone wrong there?
Yeah, well, piece of brinksmanship. You remember that for the last 5 years, this has been the strategy for his whole business development over the next 5 to 10 years. So under those circumstances, to not be the largest satellite company, you know, in the world, broadcaster in the world, is a significant blow. But then again, he might also be sitting back and saying, well, General Motors, which of course owns Hughes Media, Hughes Electronic has to basically now make a decision as to whether in fact EchoStar does have the money and whether it can jump the regulatory hurdles. Clearly, if you're putting number 1 and number 2 together, it becomes an almighty business. But whether in fact the Bush administration is going to allow that to take place is another matter. And so if the case is that EchoStar doesn't get the bidding here, then where does General Motors head? It's got to head back to Rupert Murdoch, potentially at a lower price.
Well, that's interesting, because right now it looks as if Rupert's deal-making skills are a little bit at a loss here. It looks as if he's overplayed his hand in poker.
There's no doubt about that. He has clearly overplayed his hand. But right now they're also saying, we're not in this game. We're out of the game. Question is, of course, whether he'd be back in the game at a lower price if he was the only bidder. I think he would be.
Which would make him look very smart indeed. Well, thank you very much indeed, Ross. Yes. Well, a major shipbuilder gets that sinking feeling. Kværner faces a critical decision this Monday. We'll have details when World Business Today returns.
Pull over? But I haven't done anything. Why am I feeling so guilty? I didn't stop at that stop sign. Wait, there was no stop sign. Oh no, that parking ticket. Wait, I paid that.
Great car.
Oh, phew. Now what?
Really great car.
The all-new A4. Exciting to drive, or not to notice.
You may know Delphi Automotive Systems is in your car.
Happy anniversary.
Honey?
But how would you like a glimpse of what we're developing for tomorrow?
Take a look at our communication systems, where we're bringing the internet, even email, into your next vehicle.
And our advanced vehicle dynamics will give drivers greater control. Have a nice evening.
Delphi Automotive Systems, driving tomorrow's technology.
Are you going to stay out here all night?
Is the market up? Is it down? That's the wrong question. The right question is, do you have a smart, long-term financial plan? If you were going to go out and play a football game, you just wouldn't run out into the field without a game plan, even though it may be 4th and long and it feels very uncomfortable. You have a plan and you have to stick to it. We've been helping people plan long-term for over 120 years. We understand and we know how to get through difficult times. The Principal Financial Group, we understand what you're working for.
He's worked almost 40 years. She's worked almost 40 years. And during that time, they've gone on walks together instead of cruises, and shared secrets together instead of champagne, just so that someday they could retire and be together all the time. At Cigna, we care about the retirement dreams of over 5 million people. After all, there are dreams too. Cigna, a business of caring.
Passion for journalism, compassion for the story. Start your news day with Paula's On. Another reason why you can depend on CNN.
at the main corporate headlines now. Kværner, the Anglo-Norwegian engineering group, is on the brink of collapse. The Financial Times says Kværner's two main shareholders appear unwilling to give more cash to keep it in business. This means the company may have to file for bankruptcy before the Oslo market opens on Monday. A second name has surfaced as potential bidder for the collapsed British rail network operator Railtrack. The US finance group Babcock & Brown is said to be working on several financing packages for Railtrack, but the companies have not yet started formal discussions. The German bank Vestelby has already expressed interest in Railtrack's assets. Crucial talks between managers of the Irish flag carrier Aer Lingus and unions continue today. According to the Financial Times, the two sides will try to agree on a severe cost-cutting program to include reducing operations by a quarter and laying off a third of the workforce. If no deal is reached, Aer Lingus, a state-owned company which loses money and is heavily dependent on transatlantic traffic, may be under extreme financial pressure. It's starting to look more and more likely that the UK economy will avoid recession, despite the slump in manufacturing and uncertainties in the global economy. PricewaterhouseCoopers, in its latest UK report, expects 2% growth next year, with consumer demand staying strong. For a closer look at the UK's prospects, I'm joined by Rosemary Radcliffe, Chief Economic Advisor at PwC. Rosemary, how come the British are going to be able to avoid a recession, unlike their continental European counterparts?
Well, the fundamentals are quite strong in the UK economy. Consumer spending has been holding up relatively well. We've had the benefit, of course, of interest rate reductions, and we've also got quite a big fiscal stimulus coming into the UK economy. But I think it's important to stress that there is a considerable degree of uncertainty about future prospects. It's difficult enough to estimate what the effects may be of the events of September the 11th, but of course we don't know what is going to happen next in the global political environment, and that does create a massive amount of uncertainty.
Okay, so we have that uncertainty, but we have some kind of picture, all other things being equal. What is going to happen to the UK economy in terms of interest rates, which is what interests a lot of people, because at the moment it's got in the G7 the highest interest rates and the lowest inflation.
Absolutely. Well, our best guess on the assumption that things don't deteriorate further in the global environment is that growth next year could be the order of 2%. We think there may still be a little bit more to come by way of interest rate cuts, perhaps another quarter point before the end of this year, and that the UK economy overall, therefore, should avoid recession. But that does conceal some quite significant variations between individual sectors. We're expecting UK manufacturing, for example, to have a pretty tough time.
One of the remarkable things about UK manufacturing is that for, well, more or less since the launch of the euro 2 or 3 years ago, the pound has suffered effectively overvaluation against the euro, against its major trading partners. Manufacturing has stuck that out, but it sounds from what you're saying as if it isn't going to survive too much longer in this kind of healthy shape.
Well, manufacturing's technically in recession in the UK now, and that's the second time in 3 years. I think looking ahead, there has to be a question mark about the long-term size of the manufacturing sector in the UK economy. It's dropped already to below 20%. We do have some very successful subsectors in the UK.
But that's the story that we've been doing since I was in short trousers, that UK manufacturing is doomed. It's going to be services, particularly financial services, that will be the future of the economy.
I think doomed is pushing it a little bit strongly, but I think we have to recognise that as a developed economy, increasingly our exports are going to have to depend on tradable services, not just on manufactured goods, which isn't to say that manufacturing has no future at all. I'm sure there will be some sectors, pharmaceuticals, IT, computer equipment, which will continue to flourish, but against a background of a declining share of manufacturing in UK GDP.
Well, here's another difficult thing to understand, isn't there? You talk about tradable services, above all financial services. The City of London is a huge export earner, and yet, you know, it's under assault on two fronts in terms of trading, in terms of the overall situation for investment banking, very poor at the moment. In terms of insurance, Lloyd's of London is looking very, very sick. Presumably that's another area of extreme weakness, so why avoid recession?
I think in the short run, clearly financial services is going to experience some problems along with UK manufacturing. The key to it, I think, though, is the UK consumer. And at the moment, at any event, if we can avoid massive and wholesale redundancies, it does look as if UK consumer spending may hold up rather better than it has been, for example, in Germany or really in the US. So consumer spending is crucial, consumer confidence is crucial, but the UK does have some fundamentals going for it at the moment, lower interest rates and a fairly substantial fiscal stimulus.
Rosemary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rosemary Radcliffe of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Well, up next, Lisa Barron will have the business headlines from Asia. Plus, it survived war and revolutions and upheavals. Now this architectural wonder faces another serious threat. More on that in a moment. Stay with us.
Respected newsman with a different way of looking at the story, Aaron Brown. Another reason why you can depend on CNN.
AT&T Broadband.
Nature. How wild can life get? Creatures that terrify. Instincts that mystify. Action that electrify. Experience survival of the fiercest.
Upgrade to digital cable and enjoy living wild weeknights at 8 on the National Geographic Channel.
Serving the greater Portland area, we're AT&T Broadband. Next February, we've got the home snow.
The Winter Olympics in our house, Salt Lake City, 2002. See it on the networks of NBC.
To advertise within the 2002 Olympic Games, call AT&T Media Services at 503-535-6120.
What can you do at VHIX.com in 30 seconds or less? And you didn't even break a sweat. VHIX.com, roadmap to the automotive world.
This Craftmatic Model 2 electrically adjustable bed costs no more than many quality flatbeds. And when you buy selected ones with optional heat and built-in massage, you get this fabulous bonus. A 25-inch color TV absolutely free. In a Craftmatic bed, you adjust yourself into comfortable positions automatically. Call toll-free so we can mail you our adjustable bed catalog and a certificate for a free 25-inch color TV with bed purchase.
Call toll-free 1-800-245-9977.
America Strikes Back. Depend on CNN.
More weak economic news out of Japan this Monday, putting traders there on edge. Lisa Barron joins us now from Hong Kong for that and all the Asian business news. Hello there, Lisa.
Nearly 3% in September to its lowest level in almost 8 years. The continued drop in overseas output. Those numbers capped any optimism in the financial markets this Monday. Fears of a worsening economy dragged down the banking sector as well as the broader Nikkei 225. Meanwhile, the Bank of Japan said today it will not change monetary policy at the end of today's board meeting, a decision most agitating. News that Rupert Murdoch's News Corp has failed in its bid for U.S.-based Hughes Electronics has sent its share price below pre-attack levels. Its stock, which holds nearly 10% of the S&P ASX 200 market weight, pulled down the index more than 0.5% today. With rival EchoStar winning the bid for Hughes and DirecTV, News Corp is struggling to find a new way to enter the lucrative U.S. TV distribution market. South Korea's government may soon unveil a proposal for an East Asian monetary fund. Local media are reporting that South Korea will present the idea at a meeting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Brunei in early November. The proposal includes a free trade and investment area and a new monetary fund which would be supplementary to the International Monetary Fund. The September 11th attacks in the U.S. have taken a toll on the worldwide tourism industry, but some government officials in Asia are taking a more upbeat approach towards the slumping travel industry.
But of course, September 11 has been very bad, not only for the Philippines, for the whole world. But I think Asia, on the whole, will recover brilliantly here, principally because I think there will be less travel to the U.S. Japan and Korea, who are the biggest travelers in the region, aren't going to go to Europe because of the recession, so far as their countries are concerned. But they're very good travelers, so they're going to come over to Asia.
That was Richard Gordon, Secretary of Tourism for the Philippines. That's a look at the Asian Business Day. Back to you, Charles, in London.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, staying in Asia, Cambodia's most famous site, the temple complex at Angkor Wat, is facing a new deadly threat. Mike Chinoy has the story from Cambodia.
It's been compared to the pyramids of Egypt and the Taj Mahal, the temple complex at Angkor Wat, stretching over 400 square kilometers of northwestern Cambodia, one of the great architectural wonders of the world. Over the centuries, Angkor has survived the encroachment of the jungle, war, revolution, and upheaval. Now, though, it's facing what some believe could be its greatest threat yet. The threat is from tourism. 40,000 visitors in 1998, nearly 200,000 last year, with as many as 1 million projected before the end of the decade, bringing with them uncontrolled development, often lubricated by massive corruption, fouling the environment, putting the temples at risk.
It's a scenario for catastrophe, in which a rapid rise in mass tourism leads quickly to the destruction of the temples.
Van Mollivan knows what he's talking about. For 6 years, the French-educated scholar and architect ran the Apsara Authority, the UN-backed agency responsible for protecting Angkor. This past summer, he was abruptly fired by the Cambodian government. With tourism one of the few moneymakers in this impoverished country, and with Angkor, Cambodia's only international attraction, now made even more fashionable as the backdrop for the hit movie Tomb Raiders, the powerful and the greedy are rushing to cash in. This new hotel, for example, is controlled by a close ally of Prime Minister Hun Sen. Other controversial projects include a karaoke resort built by a local military commander, a hotel bankrolled by the Vice President of the Cambodian Senate, and a deal under which a company called Sokimex, whose shareholders include senior figures in the ruling party, control all revenues from tourists visiting the temples. It's widely believed that opposition to such developments cost Van Mollivan his job. So now, with the chief guardian of the temples sidelined, development continues unabated. The tourist invasion steadily grows, and so does Van Mollivan's nightmare.
The greatest danger is a lack of interest in saving the temples on the part of those now in charge, that everything we did to protect Angkor will be abandoned.
But unless something is done, that may well be the fate of this monument to the glory of Cambodian civilization. Mike Chinoy, CNN, Angkor Wat, Cambodia.
Before we go, here's a look ahead at what the markets will be watching out for this week. In Europe, the earnings season continues. Report cards are expected from EasyJet, Alcatel, and Germany's Deutsche Bank. In the United States, a slew of economic data will keep investors busy. They're awaiting October unemployment figures, a report on consumer confidence, and economic growth numbers for the third quarter. Well, I'm Charles Hodson, and I'll be back in 30 minutes with another business update. World News continues here on CNN. Stay with us.
Two, I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Charles Barkley is in the house every Wednesday and Thursday. See the NBA on TNT.